Okie dokie. So today we are doing 4.1. The title is Writing Equations in slope, intercept form. So as a reminder, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. We remember that. All right, we just did it. It's not going to go away. Now, what does m stand for? Slope. What does the letter b stand for? Y-intercept. And what do we do with x and y usually? Do we change them or do we leave them alone? We usually leave them alone, right? We change m and b for a number and we leave x and y alone. Okay, because that's usually, if we have these numbers, we can leave those alone. Now, we are going to actually use x and y when we don't know if we're missing something, okay? Now, x and y, what they actually come from, or what we use, is from a point. Remember, if we're getting an ordered pair, if we were ever given a point, we could use those numbers in the equation if we ever needed it. And it looks like that point's kind of hugging the word slope. So what we're going to do is we're going to write an equation, but they're only going to give us half this information. We're going to have to find the rest of it so we can make an answer. Because our final answer will be in y equals mx plus b form, where m and b are a number, x and y stay x and y. But we might have to use the equation to figure it out. Okay, this is how it works. The instructions will always say this right here. Okay, it'll say, write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. Ooh, it's a little crooked. Josiah, since you're done writing, will you shut my door to just a crack? Because there's a lot of noise going on out there. But just in case Miss Weave wants to come over. Mr. Buckley's pretty loud. There you go. That's better. Okay, so every single time it'll say that. So what's going to happen is it's going to give you a point. It'll say 2, 1, and then it'll give you a comma. Then it'll say, hey, your slope, and I'll give you a number. We're going to say 3. So what's the information it gives us? It tells us, do we know what m is? Out of all those letters in that equation, do we know what m is? Yeah, what is it? It's 3, right? Do we know what x and y are? Yeah, because we're going to point, right? So what is x? 2. And what's y? 1. What's the only letter we don't know the answer to in that equation? y equals mx plus b. We don't know what b is, right? We don't know that y-intercept. So that means we need to find it, because in an equation, we have to know that number. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these numbers for these different letters, and we're going to plug it into that equation. If it helps you every single time, you can rewrite y equals mx plus b, and then underneath it, write what goes where. So y, it says, is 1, then an equal sign. M, Ethan said 3. It says times, well, x says 2. I like to put it in parentheses. Then we don't know what our y, we don't know what b is, so I'm going to leave it as plus b. So we only have one letter here. When you only have one letter, you can solve it. This is really one step. What are we going to do so we can slowly get b by itself? Any math we should do first before we start moving stuff around? Bella? It's just multiplication, but yes, because it's just one number. You don't distribute really with one number. 3 times 2, what's 3 times 2? 6. So I have 6. Bring down my 1. Bring down my plus b. Then what do I do, Dukes, to get b by itself? Remember, we leave b alone. What are we going to do to move the other thing away from b? Yep. 6 from the 6, they cancel out. That's just left with b over here. And what's 1 minus 6? Jacoby? -5. Once you know what b is, you're going to take m and b and write them in the original equation, because it says write a final equation in slope-intercept form. So our final answer is going to be y equals, just like we would before, y equals 3x, because 3 represents m, and then minus 5, because b is -5. So that is actually our final answer, because that's what we want. We want our equation with m and b in it. We only use the point to find the answer. Once we found our b answer, we don't need the point anymore. How do you feel about that? Not so bad? Easy? Not easy? We don't know. Okay, we'll keep practicing. Number 2. How about the point -2, 5, and it says slope is 3 again. So again, every single time, what's m equal? 3. What does x equal? And what does y equal? That's a 5, sweets. Now take all those numbers and plug it into y equals mx plus b, because we don't know what b is. So plug in the number for y, plug in the number for m, plug in the number for x, leave plus b. This math is always the same. The answers, the numbers will be different, but the process is the same. You're always going to multiply these two numbers, as long as you write the right numbers in. And you're always going to move whatever number is on the right side of the equal sign to the left. So this time, what are we going to do to move this -6 to the other side, Gage? Yep, I'm going to add 6. So now these 6's cancel out, and I have b equals what, Gage? 5 plus 6 is what? 11. Now we want to write our final answer in slope-intercept form with an m answer and a b answer. Anyone want to tell me the answer? Josiah. Correct. Did we get the same answer as Josiah? Does that make sense? I'll put it right here. Let's try one more before we move on, okay? Number 3. I'll let you do this one on your own. We'll just see if we get the right answer. 4, -7. That's our ordered pair. And our slope is -1. Every single time, remember, label out your 3 things, then write your equation, plug it in. I'm going to do mine while it's frozen. See if you can get it. I'll show all my work. Them negatives, they get you, don't they? Are we all done? Almost? I unfroze it to see how do we do. Did we get the same answer? Is there a difference if I write -x versus -1x? No, they're the same thing. They are exactly the same thing. As long as you know that difference, it's okay. And the computer will not mark it wrong if you type it in, if you write -1x. Okay? They only will mark it wrong when you type in decimals instead of fractions, because in math we always use fractions. Okay, so that's not hard really, right? But they gave us our point, they gave us our slope, that's not so bad. But what if we're doing a problem and it's still basically the same instructions. We still have to do this in the end, find an answer. But this is what they give us. It just looks different to start. It looks like this. 3, 1, and then they write the word and. Then they give us a second point, like 2, 4. So all they gave us was 2 points. They didn't give us a slope. So we have no idea what the slope is. Are we lost forever? We can never figure it out. We're donezo, floating on a raft, castaway. Or can we figure out what the slope is using 2 points? If we don't remember because we were sleeping last section, it's a good time to learn. Is there a formula? Yeah, Josiah, do you remember the formula? equals m. So what we do, right, is we look at these 2 points. We go, okay, this is my first point, so that's x sub 1. This is the y in the first point. That's what the 1's come from. And over here we go, this is our x, but that's the second point. This is our y, and it's the second point. So if you want to, if it makes you feel better, write down the slope every time. I will put it on the board for you, and then we're going to plug it in. You know what I do? I write the blank line, and every single time in the middle, I write my minus signs so I don't mess up, because that's where we mess up is our subtraction. So my minus signs are right on top. Look at your y's first. One y minus the other, so back y minus the front. So 4, then 1. So 4 minus 1. I wrote it down. Then x and y. Since you start in the back, you have to start in the back again. So 2 minus 3. So 2 minus 3. Once all your spots are plugged in, do the math separately. Top, simplify it to one number. 4 minus 1 is 3. Bottom, 2 minus 3, -1. Can this simplify to make a whole number? 3 divided by -1, is that a whole number? Yeah, it's -3. What did we just figure out? What letter? M. We just figured out, hey, M equals -3. Just like before. Do we have an answer for X? We have multiple answers for X, do we? I always pick the front point. So I always pick up my X1 and my Y1. So X equals 3. Y equals 1. You just have to pick the X and Y from the same spot. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. Just pick it from the same spot. Now again, just like before, do we have an M, an X, and a Y? Just like we did right here. Now we can do the same exact thing. Now we're going to write slope-intercept form down. And we're going to plug it into that equation. So y is, m is, x is, we don't know what b is. Every single time. Always do the math for the multiplication. Then add or subtract depending on what you have. What's b equal in this one? Move this big guy. What's b equal here? 10. So when someone likes to tell me my final equation answer, that has not answered me yet today. Anybody? Feeling? Katie? Remember, our final answer always has y and x in it. Yep. Plus 10. Correct. Not so bad, right? Just a step, it's just an extra step in the beginning. Oh, someone might want to. Okay, I don't have enough room. Let's not try to scoot that together. I'm going to do it again. Okay? How about -4, -2 and -5, -6. We got 2 sets of points. Again, I will write the formulas right here for you. Okay, label them. Plug it in. If it helps you, write the equation down. First, write the original equation down. Then right next to it, actually do the math. Plug in the numbers. Actually with the negatives. All these negatives in this problem, you might definitely want to pay attention. What happens when you minus a negative? It's yet turning into a positive. If not, remember, can't we always just type in our calculator, -6 minus -2. As long as you type it in, use the right signs, you're okay. Remember, when a number's in front by itself, you use a negative sign, or when there's an extra sign with it. I always make them different sizes so you can tell the difference. So you should have one number on top, one number on the bottom. Did you get the same slope as I did? Okay. I'm going to work this way this time. So now we have m equals 4, because we just found it. Gracie, what x do you want to use? What does x equal? Okay, that's good. I always use the first one. So what does y equal, Gracie? Okay, now that we have that, we're going to plug it straight into this equation right here. I moved it over so it's right underneath this. So plug in y first because it's first, equals, and then m times x plus b. Always multiply. What do we do to get b by itself? Add 16. Nope, they're not. What is 16 and -2 added together? 14. Would anyone like to tell me my final answer equation this time? Morgan, you already worked. You don't get to talk this time. Crystal? 4x plus 14. Good job. That's not so bad, right? Now, it's actually easier, but it's going to throw you off for a second. What happens here? Number 6. Throw a little curve at you. You ready? -2, comma, -4. And -2, comma, +4. Still 2 points. Still going to find the slope first, right? Stop when you find the slope. Plug it into this equation. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Oh, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That turns into that. That turns into that. Paying attention to your negative signs really does have an advantage. See if you get the same fraction answer as I do in your slope. And then you're going to have to stop because we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to take a drink of water while I wait. So who remembers what this means? Jaden? It's undefined. Remember, 0 can never be in the bottom of a fraction. So this slope, we use the U word, undefined. Now, we had this saying. We learned it before. It helped us graph a lot if we used it. Do you remember that saying we used to help us with special equations and special lines and special slopes? Oh, Matthew? Oh, they're both 3 letters. Close. Matthew, find it. What is it? Vux and Hoy. There's so much fun to say. I don't know why you can't remember it. Right? Vux and Hoy. Remember, x equals, these are your equations. What does V stand for? Vertical line. I'm just going to draw it. Up and down line, right? That makes my life easier instead of having tried to write the word. One, because spelling's not so good, and two, because I don't have a lot of space. What does H stand for? Horizontal. We used this the last time to graph. But, Jacoby, what does that U stand for? Undefined. That's when you have a number divided by 0. It's undefined. Right? So if you see either this, it helps you graph this or that. If you see this, like all of these help each other. So we just saw this. We just saw that our slope is undefined. We're trying to write an equation. Vux tells us what kind of equation are we going to have as an answer? It says x equals a number. That's our equation. So whatever we write here, it's going to be x equals some number. Well, so we got to figure out what that number is. It doesn't take any math brain power at all. Look at your ordered pairs. What do you notice about your x's in your ordered pairs? They're the same number. What's the number? What do you think your equation is? What's the x answer? What do you think your equation's going to be? X equals. That's it. When your slope is special, it's one letter equals one number, and the number is already given to you in the ordered pairs. So if your x's or your y's are already the same number, it's one of these special things. Which means, did I have to do all the rest of this stuff to plug it in, do all that crap? No! As soon as I figured out what kind of slope I had, I just had to use my special words. Does that kind of make sense? Let's do the flip side and try the other one. I gotta go back to orange. So 7. I'm gonna make it up. How about 3, 8 and 9, 8. Given 2 points. Find the slope. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. X sub 2 minus x sub 1. What's my fraction answer gonna be? Did you get the same fraction answer? What is 0 divided by anything? What's that make you think of? Right there. 0 divided by anything gives you 0. So our equation is going to be what? Y equals a number. Look over here. What's our Y equals? 8. So Ethan, for my answer that I would type in to Alex, I would write what? Easy, done. All your brain trusts in all these problems is getting your slope right. So if we did not do this right the last time, last chapter was like practice work, basically. We didn't do it right now. This is the time we want to get it right, which is why I practice it. And if it helps, which is completely fine, I would write down the slope formula every single time. I will write it on the board for you correctly so that you can look at it, like you can look up with your eyeballs and then write it down. every time so that then you can copy it down correctly. Because if we mess this up, are you going to mess up literally the entire problem? Oh, and then it's going to go to 99, right? So you need to make sure that you're copying things down correctly. And if this is where you're messing up, because some of you are switching these and doing some crazy things and messing up our negatives, it's always subtraction. Type it in. And you cannot forget this guy. He's such a beautiful guy. Vux and Hoy. One, they're fun to say, and two, they're only 3 letters apiece. And looking at it should help you. That is all you're doing. We're going to do practice problems. Do you think we can do this? You think so? I'll pick girls first so that they can, or people with nice handwriting first so they can write these 2 equations on the board at the top. And then so we can keep them. We won't erase them. But we're going to practice. Okay, now I'm going to try to stop this and keep, oh, see this?